Hello and welcome to this special edition of Hughes Round. Obviously, I'm commenting on PMQs today in the light of the video last night of Boris Johnson's press secretary at the time, Allegra Stratton, laughing about the twats in Downing Street having a big twatting party on December the 18th last year while everyone else was locked down. So, we've got Lindsay here, Lindsay Hoyle, talking at the moment. We just had some questions about Northern Ireland, which were just pathetic on the Tory side and the DUP side. It was kind of a little bit painful to have to sit through, but this is going to get more painful because Boris Johnson has just got to his feet. What a gobshite!
Saying that I understand,
what do you understand?
And share the anger
Nothing. Go
up
fuck
and down
yourself.
the country at seeing Number 10 staff seeming to make light of lockdown measures.
And having a fucking party at your house, you cunt!
How infuriating it must be to think that the people who have been setting the rules have not been following the rules.
So resign.
Mr. Speaker.
Resign!
I was also furious to see that clip.
Oh, fuck you, you fucking cunt! Oh, piss off, you bloviated fucking mangina.
That it has caused up and down the country, and I apologise for the impression that it gives. But I repeat, Mr. Speaker, that I have been repeatedly assured since these allegations...
What? You fucking lied!
That there was no party.
What?
And that no...
Oh, you
rules
twat!
...were broken, and that is what...
Oh, you suffering little twat!
But I've asked...
Oh my God, look at him lying. He's lying to you. He's lying to Parliament. He's lying to the Queen. He's lying to fucking everybody.
And Mr. Speaker, it goes without saying that if those rules were broken, then there will be disciplinary action.
Wow.
Mr. Speaker,
this is off the
this morning
charts.
I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others, and in addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Fucking hell. There was none. Right, there's a softball question from a Conservative. For some reason, this comes through first.
£22 million lost on Providence Place land deal and a £10 million overspend on SEND transport contracts, which were almost awarded to Labour councillors' friends. Today, the council's external auditors released a damning report that surprises none of us. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that 47 years of Labour control in Sandwell has done nothing but level down?
You're in charge of the country, you stupid crotch! Oh my God! You fucking idiot! They've been in charge for 11 years and they're moaning about Labour.
I wholeheartedly agree with my honourable friend because the instinct of
Holy
Labour councillors up and down this country.
He just lied about having this fucking party. Everyone knows he had a party. And he just stood up in Parliament and said there was no party. There was no party in his house. In his house! Where he lives!
As soon as possible, Mr.
Jesus, wept!
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Fucking hell, Starmer, right, this is your moment. Fucking smash him. You better smash him.
Speaker. I heard
Call
what
him
the
a
Prime
cunt.
Minister said at the beginning of this session, but frankly it raises more questions than answers. Last week, I asked the Prime Minister, was there a Christmas party in Downing Street for dozens of people on December the 18th? The Prime Minister, the government, spent the week telling the British public
Lies.
There was no party. All guidance was followed completely. Millions of people now think the Prime Minister was taking them for fools.
Yep.
And that they were lied to.
Yep.
They're right, aren't they?
Mr. Speaker, I think the right honourable gentleman probably missed what I said at the beginning, but I apologise. I apologise for the impression that has been given that staff in Downing Street take this less than seriously. I'm sickened myself and furious.
You said there was no. You said there was no party. You just said it. You just fucking lied.
That I've been repeatedly assured.
It was your house. We're not talking about a party that happened somewhere thousands of miles away. We're talking about a party in his house in which he fucking well lives.
Cabinet Secretary to investigate exactly what happened, and I repeat that there will be consequences for those involved if those
like
rules
yourself.
are broken,
Maybe
Mr.
you should fucking resign.
An internal investigation into what happened. The situation is as clear as day. I thought last week was... Mr. Speaker, I thought last week was bad enough. Surely the Prime Minister isn't now going to start pretending that
Never
the
happened.
first he knew about this was last night. Surely.
It's his own house. Someone just said on the soundtrack, it's his own house.
Including
Was
his
there a party in my
personal
house? I didn't know.
They knew there was a party. They knew it was against the rules. They knew they couldn't admit it.
Yeah.
And they thought it was funny. Yep. It's obvious what happened. Anton Decker ahead of the Prime Minister on this. The Prime Minister has been caught red-handed. Why doesn't he end the investigation right now by just admitting it?
Or just resigning.
Because,
Why
Mr.
don't you just
Speaker,
fucking
I've been
resign?
repeatedly assured that no rules were broken.
You had a party in your house, you cunt!
I understand public anxiety
Massive,
about this.
blonde,
I understand
hairball
public
of
indignation,
shit
but that
and
is-
phlegm.
but there is a risk of doing a grave injustice to people who are frankly obeying the rules, Mr. Speaker. That is why the Cabinet
What?
Secretary will be conducting.
It was
an
your house.
investigation, and that's
It was
why
your
there will be,
house.
the requisite-
It was
there
your
will be the
fucking
requisite
house, you
disciplinary
twat.
action if necessary.
Keir Starmer.
This pretends that further information's come to light. Give me a break. He's still taking the public for fools. On the day of the Downing Street party, Tricia Greenhall's mum phoned her. She was breathless and feverish. You might want to listen. Tricia followed the rules and didn't visit her mum. Listening? 4 days later, on the day the Prime Minister's staff laughed about covering up the party, Tricia's mum was admitted to hospital. Tricia followed the rules and didn't visit. Tricia's mum spent Christmas Day in hospital. Tricia followed the rules and didn't visit. 2 days later, Tricia's mum died. What Tricia wants to know is this: why did the Prime Minister expect her to accept that the rules allowed a Downing Street party but didn't allow her to visit her dying mother?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the first thing to say is that, in common with everybody in this House, I extend my sympathies to the family of Tricia, and of course I understand to Tricia and our family, and I understand the pain of everybody who has suffered.
don't
throughout
understand
this
pain, mate.
pandemic. And I
You
know
don't
that
understand anything. You're a
and I know
fucking
that the implication
sociopath.
that he's trying to draw that the case
Patrick
that he
Bateman,
that
but
we're now
not quite as
investigating
good a fucking
somehow
business
should
card.
undermine public confidence in the measures that we're taking. And I
Public
think that's the
confidence.
point that he's trying to make. But I may say to him, Mr. Speaker, I think it is a great mistake to try to play politics with this issue.
What? How is it playing politics, you massive gargantuan shithole?
The public, Mr. Speaker, will not like to see. I don't think the public do want to see confidence in their measures, in these measures, undermined. And we are taking.
But why did you undermine them then by having a fucking party in your cunting house, you twat?
Necessary to protect the public, above all, Mr. Speaker, by rolling out the vaccinations, and rather than focusing on the.
Oh, he's mentioned the
events of a year ago,
vaccinations.
Mr. Speaker, that is what we are focusing on.
On your Boris
And
bingo,
that's why I
everyone.
think
He
the
mentioned the
public
fucking
will
vaccinations,
understand.
which you can't get today. I still can't get my vaccination today on the NHS fucking app. Even though Savage Javid said this morning that I could. Fucking lying piece of shit.
Even the Prime Minister must understand the damage he's done to his credibility in enforcing the rules now and in the future. Tricia made an enormous personal sacrifice to do the right thing, to follow the rules and help defeat the virus. That's what she was asked to do. Most people were just like Tricia last Christmas.
Yeah.
No one was dreaming of a Zoom Christmas, turkey dinners for one, gifts exchanged at service stations. But the virus was out of control. 489 people died of COVID on the day of the Downing Street party. So the British people put the health of others above themselves and followed the rules. Isn't the Prime Minister ashamed that his Downing Street couldn't do the same?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've said what I've said about the the events on December the 18th. They will be properly investigated.
In his
Mr.
case,
Speaker,
no
I will
shame.
Place a copy of the Cabinet Secretary's report in the Library of the House of Commons. But what people should not do is lose focus on what we are trying to do now. Rather than, of course, we will deal with the events of what may or may not have taken place on the 18th of December last year, Mr. Speaker. But what I think we need to focus on
may or may not
today
have happened.
Is what we're doing.
There was
to
a
roll
fucking
out,
party
the
at your
vaccinations across
cunting
the
house,
country.
and you just
what we're
fucking
doing
said there was no
is
party at your cunting house, you
Mr.
cunt!
Speaker, that we now have in the Omicron variant, a variant that is spreading much faster, Mr. Speaker, than any variant that we've seen before, and that is what we need, with great respect to the right honourable gentleman, to focus on. And that is why I ask everybody...
What we need to focus on is everything else. We can't talk about the thing that everyone in the country is talking about at the moment.
Focus on what's happening today. There were no government spokespersons on the media this morning. I see the Health Secretary has made it to the chamber. And that's the point, Mr. Speaker. This virus isn't defeated. We're going to face other tests where the British people may be asked by their leaders to make further sacrifices for the greater good. Her Majesty the Queen sat alone when she marked the passing of the man she'd been married to for 73 years. Leadership, sacrifice, that's what gives leaders the moral authority to lead. Does the Prime Minister think he has the moral authority to lead and to ask the British people to stick to the rules?
Not only that, Mr. Speaker, but the Labour Party and the Labour
Attack.
Union in particular
Don't answer the question.
have played politics, Mr. Speaker,
It's not playing politics.
Throughout this pandemic.
What?
I've got to hear what the Prime Minister's saying, because if I don't know when something is said, and I must hear the Prime Minister. Prime Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, and if I may say so, throughout this pandemic...
Answer the fucking question.
Throughout this pandemic...
Answer the question.
The Leader of the Opposition, in particular, has done nothing but play politics, to try to muddy the waters, to confuse the public, and
confuse the public. Go out, don't go out, go to work, don't go to work, get on the train, don't get a train, eat out, don't eat out. Fuck you, Boris Johnson.
And they have got on with implementing the guidance, and they have got on in particular, Mr. Speaker, with showing great commitment to the health of this country by
giving his mates a bunch of fucking dodgy PPE contracts.
We've had this the week before. I'm not having this every week. No, if you want to be on the front bench, behave like you're meant to be the Prime Minister.
Fuck off, Boris
Mr. Speaker,
Johnson.
at every stage, the Labour leadership and the Right Honourable Gentleman have tried to muddy the waters and play politics, whereas the people of this country...
He's just trotting out the same attack lines. Muddy waters. Muddy waters. He's not supporting us. Why won't they support us? Fucking vaccinations. We've got one of the highest death rates in the whole of Europe. Now, today.
That's so desperate, and even his own side can see it. Last week, the Prime Minister told us there was no party. Now he thinks there's something to investigate. The Justice Secretary thinks that the police don't investigate crimes from a year ago. Well, I ran the Crown Prosecution Service, and I can tell him that is total nonsense. Mr. Speaker, at Westminster Magistrates Court, right now, the CPS are prosecuting over a dozen breaches of COVID restrictions last December, including those, Prime Minister, who hosted parties. They're doing their job, enforcing the law set in Downing Street. Will the Prime Minister support the police and support the CPS by handing over everything the government knows about parties in Downing Street to the Metropolitan Police?
You won't answer the question, watch.
Of course we will do that, and we will get on with the investigation by the Cabinet Secretary.
Okay,
Mr. Speaker, he continually wants to play politics with
Again,
this issue.
talking about playing politics. It's not. He's having a go at you. for fucking breaking the rules that you fucking made up in the middle of a fucking cunting pandemic, you massive, bloviated twat of a man.
The party opposite was to decriminalise Class A drugs.
What? What the fuck has this got to do with anything? What the twatting, shitting fuck has this got to do with him having a fucking party? Except that the party was probably full of fucking Class A drugs, just like his fucking bathroom at the fucking House of Commons is seemed to be loaded with the stuff. He has it powdered on his jacket most of the time. There's actually a picture of him from the fucking 1980s with a little cocaine baggie on the table and shit all over his fingers. The white powder all over his fingers.
Who face persecution across the world.
Oh, fuck off. Oh, yeah. But the persecution of the Christians, we get thrown to the lions, we do. Oh, fuck off. She's talking about persecution of religious minorities, and I'm like, yeah, so that's something that we don't do anything about, because we don't allow any asylum seekers to apply for asylum here. We just, unless they get in a little boat and come across a really dangerous stretch of water to hit, the UK mainland, and then they can apply for asylum. There's no other fucking way. They're not jumping a queue. There's no other fucking way. I'll come back. I'll put the sound back on when Ian Blackford gets to his feet in a moment.
Leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are standing on the cliff edge of yet another challenging moment in this pandemic. Omicron cases are rising at a rapid rate over the coming weeks. Tough decisions will again have to be made to save lives and protect our NHS. Mr. Speaker, trust in leadership is a matter of life and death. Downing Street willfully broke the rules and mocked the sacrifices we have all made, shattering the public's trust. The Prime Minister is responsible for losing the trust of the people. He can no longer lead on the most pressing issue facing these islands. The Prime Minister has a duty, the only right and moral choice left to him. It is for his resignation.
Yes, yes. Fucking resign.
Prime Minister.
Fucking resign, you piece of shit.
The party opposite, and indeed the other party opposite, are going to continue to play politics. I am going to get on.
This is just his line. Oh my God, was that your response?
No dignity from a Prime Minister that quite simply just doesn't get it. Mr. Speaker, people across these islands have followed the rules, even when it meant missing friends and family, missing births, missing funerals, missing the chance to be beside a loved one in their dying moments. People have sacrificed, at times to the point of breaking, while the UK government has laughed in our faces. It is clear that this Prime Minister has lost the support of the public and now even his own benches. This is not a grin and bear it moment. This is a moment of moral reckoning. Every member of the Conservative benches must now decide, is this the man to lead these islands when lives are at stake? It is clear that this Prime Minister intends to desperately cling on to power, and I have nothing left to say to a man whose answers we simply can't trust. So, Mr. Speaker,
Order. I will hear this question, whether the front bench like it or not. Can I just say, I'm expecting better behaviour. The public out there are questioning this Parliament. Don't add to that question. Ian Blackford.
questioning this Parliament and questioning this Prime Minister that we cannot trust. It is clear that the Prime Minister desperately is clinging on to power, and I've got nothing left to say to a man who we simply cannot trust. So, Mr. Speaker, it is time for members in this House to act. If he doesn't resign, then he must be removed.
Yeah, here. Remove the bastard.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the right honourable gentleman for his his vote of support and thanks, vote of confidence. But I can tell him that I am going to get on with the job, and I believe
getting on with the job of being corrupt, handing out power to your mates, and centralising power to the government.
And I think it is very,
the NHS bill, the law bill that they're trying to bring in, the anti-process bill, the overruling of judges that they want to be able to bring in. We are on a road to fucking fascism, and we've got this cunt to thank for it. Oh, isn't he funny? What a little funny little cunt and clown he is.
We now have a closed question. Bob Seeley.
Number 5, please, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
I thank my honourable friend, who is an excellent champion for the Isle of Wight, and I know there is ongoing discussion between Isle of Wight and the Department for Levelling Up about the
let's talk about the Isle of Wight, because that's what everyone needs to be talking about. Right, now, let's just cut the sound on that. There's this guy's talking about the Isle of Wight. I mean, fair enough, he's representing his constituents, but it's not really what we want to be talking about right now. I might take one more question from one of the opposition parties after this bullshit. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Someone said this is a dead cat moment because they're just, trying to distract from the other stuff that they're getting up to. But this cuts through emotionally. This is the big difference here. I can go on as much as I fucking like about the billions they've given to their mates for the dodgy PPE shit. Oh, fucking DUP. I know you can't hear what he's saying. Basically, he's demanding that the Prime Minister invoke Article 16. Let's see what he says.
I thank the right honourable gentleman, and he and I have
America will eat us for breakfast.
Extensively, and he knows that we share a view that the protocol is not working in the way that it needs to in order to guarantee the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. I don't believe things need to be that way. I think it could be worked differently, and we want our EU friends and partners to understand that, and we will continue to work with them to get them to see things in the way that people on both sides of the Irish Sea see them. But in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, we do not remove the possibility of invoking Article 16.
I love this Article 16 bullshit. Remember
Britain
GAP
and Northern
24? It's this thing to dangle in front of the morons. Hey, morons, look.
Hindu constituents and millions worldwide start the birth centenary celebrations of the birth of His Holiness Pramukhswami Maharaj. His life was given over...
Okay, well, we're talking about Sikhism now. It's fair enough. I mean, but I think there might be a time and place for stuff like this. I don't know if Prime Minister's questions really is at the moment. The current state of affairs in the UK, state being the operative word, because we are in a difficult position in the United Kingdom right now. The union is falling apart. The government is a shambles, led by this crook in chief, this privately educated Eton wanker, this Bullingdon Club bully who used to set fire to £50 notes in front of people who were homeless. This guy who used to go and trash restaurants because he thought it was fun.
Is a distraction from the serious decisions it should be taking. We all know that the Chinese government denies basic human rights to China's minority religious communities. The repression of the predominantly Muslim Uyghur population in Xinjiang has been condemned as an act of genocide. In the face of these abuses, President Biden has decided US diplomats will boycott the Beijing Olympics. New Zealand and Australia have followed suit. It's International Human Rights Day on Friday, so will the Prime Minister raise his eyes from his chaos and commit the UK to joining the diplomatic boycott? Yep. Or does his desperation for trade deals trump human rights?
No, Mr. Speaker, because we make all those points regularly to the Chinese, and I did to President Xi when I talked to him recently. As I've said before, we do not support sporting boycotts, but there are no plans for ministers, certainly no plans for ministers to attend the Winter Olympics.
Dr. Caroline Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, many of my constituents in Sleaford and North Hykeham are struggling to access an NHS dentist.
Okay, I'll talk about dentistry now. So, not as exciting. So, I'm just going to cut this for a moment. I'll keep talking because I need to switch to my other camera feed. It's the same camera, but it's a different camera feed. So, just give me a moment while I sort that out. And I'll let you watch in silence. Watch in silence as I disappear. And I'll come back to you, I hope, momentarily. Once I just, let's see if this works. No, it doesn't. My computer hates me. Now the screen's gone off. Bugger. Having one of those days. You can hear me frantically clicking on my touchpad here, trying to get things sorted, and I will go across there. Hello, and welcome to another round of Hughes Round. I am Graham Hughes. It is Wednesday, the 8th of December, 2021. Thank you very much for joining me. Sorry I couldn't really read your comments there. That's my fault rather than yours. The screen on my laptop is really, really small because it's just only this big. Because I've got like the screen that I'm broadcasting, and there's a screen that's like set up to go if I need to move the stuff across and change things as we go. Obviously, I'm my own engineer, and doing all the camera work and the sound and everything. But the sound was a lot better this week, which is good. I started working on this half an hour early and just got the sound sorted. It wasn't crackling last week; it was crackling the week before it was as well. So that's good. I am just going to, if you will indulge me for a moment, I'm just going to bring up YouTube. My computer's running quite slow as well. I don't know if you noticed, but the frame rate on Prime Minister's questions there, it was a bit, which isn't great. But let's, I'll dive into the comments in a moment, and then we will. It's taken ages to load up. Why is my internet so slow? That is the question for the ages. It really, really is. And now I'm watching myself back 5 seconds after I've said something, which is a really weird thing to see. But I would like to get the comments up. That's all I'm interested in. I'm really interested in what other videos I can watch on YouTube. Just give me the chat, and I'm just going to pop that out so I can shut down the rest of everything. I'm going to shut down the internet. Shut it all down, pack it all away, put it back in its box, send it back from whence it came. Right, so hopefully in a moment, your chat's going to appear. There you go. Apparently Graham is fluent in British Sign Language. Hardly, I'm trying. How can they talk about Article 16 after all this? They're obsessed, mate. They're fucking obsessed. There was the Alliance Standards across GB, and we don't need the Northern Ireland Protocol. Not sure that's what Bozo meant. Yeah, indeed. Our standards are going to have to be aligned with the EU's anyway. It's just a practical matter, because if you want to export anything, it's got to be up to EU standards. So unless you want to make our standards better, that's fine, but still the minimum is going to be EU standard is going to be the minimum. There's going to be no divergence in that respect. Me and my younger brother were carers for our parents for over 6 years. I've been scared of seeing all that hard work go down the drain because of this government's complete incompetence and evil. Yes, Duke. Well, that's pretty much what they are. Stuart Woodrow says on Facebook, on the road to fascism, we're talking about a fucking Xmas party. This happens every time. Every time something comes up, we should be worried about something. Yeah. Okay, Stuart, to address that, and I started talking about this a little bit while we were watching Prime Minister's Question Times there. This issue cuts through emotionally. And I spent 4 years banging on about how damaging Brexit would be to this country. And I tried everything. I tried talking about the economy. I talked about how it broken up friends and family. And I tried, all these different things that, I find important. I thought, I was saying it will make people poorer. There'll be shortages at the supermarkets. We'll ostracize ourselves on the world stage. People didn't give a fuck. People don't care about that shit. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. All right? Not people, but Conservative voters, Brexit voters, they don't give a monkeys about other people's suffering. They do care about this party because the vast majority of people, even Tory voters, followed the rules last December, no matter what. Often that meant they couldn't be with their friends and family over Christmas. And for many, many people in this country, that was their last Christmas. That was their last Christmas. And their sons and daughters, cousins, nephews, fathers, daughters, they couldn't spend the time that they wanted over Christmas, special time of the year. You know, obviously different denominations all celebrating holidays at this time. And that's great. They couldn't spend that time with their loved ones because we were told, and don't forget, Boris Johnson was saying, oh, I'm going to save Christmas, right up till about the 18th, when he said, no, we're going to have lockdown. You can't go and visit anyone for Christmas. So people actually bought food. They bought train tickets. They made it so that the parents could come visit, or they could go visit their parents. And then the rug was pulled out from under us. Remember that. What this party signifies is not just that the Tories believe, the people in charge of the Tory party believe that there's one rule for them and one rule for everyone else, but also that they find it amusing that there is one rule for them and one rule for everything else. And that's why this is something that, if I was the leader of the opposition, I was leader of the SNP, I would lead on this. And yes, there's so much other shit going on with the government right now, but our number one priority is getting rid of this fucking government. And that starts with getting rid of fucking Boris Johnson. Why? Because none of the other cunts in his little cunty cabinet of cunts are as popular as that cunt. I saw a fucking tweet the other day and it made me sick. You know, like when you see something and just go, oh. And it wasn't Theresa Coffey. It wasn't Anne Widdecombe, surprisingly. It was a man who had decided to get a massive tattoo, this big, on his belly of Boris Johnson's face. We're not going to get through to that guy. He's too far gone into the cult. He's getting into the cult of Boris Johnson. But that just shows just how much love and respect that unearned love and respect that Boris Johnson engenders in a sizable chunk of the British population. Women like his boyish charm, I guess, I don't know. And men want to be like him. Men want to cheat on their partners, get pissed every day, earn shitloads of money for doing fuck all, tell jokes and have everyone laugh at their really funny fucking jokes in Latin, possibly. That's what he wants. That's what they want. That's all that would make them happy in life. You know, not their own achievements or their children or the achievements of their children. That wouldn't make them happy at all. In fact, that would probably make them more angry. But the point is that, you know, those fucking lunatics aside, there are a lot of soft Tory voters, soft in the head, but, you know, soft Tory voters who are not completely wedded to the Tory party or even to Brexit, but they quite like Boris Johnson. And we need to get rid of Boris Johnson because he has managed to weather the storm of 150,000 dead British people on his doorstep and made jokes about it. A guy who said, let the bodies pile high. Remember that? A man whose chief advisor had to drive to Barnard Castle from here in Durham because he had to get his eyes tested. Need to get my eyes tested. Drove on the A167. His parents' farm, cunt farm, his parents' farm, his country manor, opens, the driveway opens out onto the A617, a 70 miles an hour dual carriageway. Dominic Cummings out onto that carriageway. Oh my God, with problematic eyes. And everyone was like, and the other thing worth noting is of the newspapers last night, the first print that came out of all the newspapers, when they released what tomorrow's newspapers are going to say. There were only two newspapers that didn't cover this story about this party that happened in Downing Street. One of many, by the way. There were more than one. Don't forget that. And there were only 2 papers that didn't cover it on the front page. One of which was the Telegraph, and the other one was the Sun. Who do you think had journalists there at the party? Hey, who do you think was there? The Sun, also, according to the Private Eye, had a party, Christmas party, a legal Christmas party, on the same fucking day. And people couldn't see their mum dying in hospital. They couldn't be with their loved ones while their life slipped out of them. They couldn't be there to hold their hand. I can only imagine what it's like to be in a hospital knowing that you're dying, knowing that you're not going to make it. But going through that alone terrifies me even more than the prospect of death. I mean, death's inevitable. But going through it alone with nobody to hold your hand, that is horrible. I wouldn't wish that on I would wish that on my worst enemies, actually. I wouldn't wish that on anyone that I liked. Or a lot of people that I don't know, but I might like. It's horrible. And they got away with it. They got away with it. And they're probably going to get away with this party as well. But we just need to keep chipping away. We need to keep chipping away, because as soon as we get rid of Boris Johnson, I do believe that whoever replaces him, whether it is Sunak or whether it's Gove or whether it's one of the other gobshites on the front bench, I don't think that they're going to have the same kind of populist appeal as Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson comes across as this washed up old 70s comedian, this hilarious old racist, bigot, posh twat that, everyone can get behind. Everyone can just, he's just like us, isn't he? He scuffles up his hair. He wears an ill-fitting suit. He's just like us. Anyway, I've got loads of messages here. I'm sorry if I missed some of your messages. Super chats are open. I don't know if that's appropriate today, really. No, that was weak. Labour Party isn't in government. It's not for them to make the rules, indeed. Labour didn't shit the waters. Well, yeah, Boris Johnson just turns everything into an attack line on Boris. This whole thing of like, if you complain about anything that the Tories are doing, they'll turn around and say, you're just playing politics. Imagine if you play Monkey Island and every insult, when you were insult sword fighting, every response was you're just playing politics. How shit would that be? Yeah, nothing clever, nothing intelligent, no witty repartee or comeback, nothing to say, no apologies. That was a mealy-mouthed cunt of an apology at the beginning of PMQs there. Now, Boris Johnson said, we apologise for how it looked. We apologise if you're upset. We apologise that you're upset. And then he said there's no party. He said there was no fucking party in his house. But yeah, so years and years of campaigning against Brexit taught me a thing or two about how to get through to people. And telling people that they're going to be worse off, telling people that it's going to disproportionately affect lower earners. No one thinks they're a low earner. No one thinks they're poor. No one thinks they're stupid. No one thinks that they're not the most amazing fucking creature that's ever walked the fucking earth. Except intelligent people, and we're few and far between, I think, by the looks of things in this country. But they don't cut through. This cuts through. Because this feels to a lot of people like they made a sacrifice. Well, it doesn't just feel. This is how it is. People made a sacrifice. Meanwhile, in number 10, they were having a fucking party and laughing about it. A few days later, Allegra Stratton, she didn't go to a comp, did she? Allegra. Isn't that a type of car? Interesting point by Marza here, Marza Jeddah. I'm in Scotland. The contrast between PMQs and FMQs is night and day. People in England are blind to the shambles, just aware of it, don't care. It's an Etonian rammy. Yeah, it is. So, to Scott pointing out, he stands there maskless, bleating about Omicron spreading. Everyone who watched either Star Trek or Futurama, Omicron Percy 9, will know, is it 9 or 19? I can't remember. We'll know that it's pronounced Omicron, okay? I'm saying Omicron, O-H, Macron, not Omicron. Yes, you can listen Interrupted on BBC Parliament channel. Kevin's moaning about me shouting. That's why I do this, to shout obscenities at the Prime Minister. Well, I still can, before I get thrown in jail for it. I know that Blackford never respects the red line on the floor. Yes, John. Expect away, you won't get it. Is that so if he pulls a sword out? It's 2 sword lengths, isn't it? Expect away, you won't get it, says Elizabeth. Paul Taylor says, my mum died alone in hospital too. Jesus Christ, man. I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. We need pikes lining the Thames again. Yep. Sadly, Boris isn't going anywhere, says Mars Jeddah. Yeah. I allowed myself to get a little bit hopeful last night when Anton Deck actually waded into the situation, but Jesus Christ. Not hearing Johnson's voice is the reason I listen to Graham. Thanks, Dream Dancer. That's the reason why I used to talk over it so loud. You remember that Boris is king in his own mind. Us plebs are inconsequential. We also dispensable. Indeed, Miles Jeddah. And also, think about this. I mean, it was brought up by Supertansky last night, but it was also brought up by on Twitter. And it was also brought up by the leader of the opposition today. The Queen sat alone in the funeral of a husband of 70 plus years. She sat alone. The Queen of England sat alone. They couldn't bend the rules for her, but they could bend the rules for Boris Johnson and his cunt mates to have a cunt party in the cunting 10 Downing Street house in which he lives. You must there at the time. I don't know what happens in my house when I'm not there. Blah, 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 blah. He denied there was a party. Today, he denied there was a party. Another PMQs. A wasted PMQs by Secret Agent Starmer. Vic, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think I would be a lot more venomous. What I would have done had it been me and I had 6 questions to ask the Prime Minister, I would have. The first one he stood up and he said, "Are you going to apologise?" or something like that. It was a really short question. That was a waste. I would have told 6 different stories. One about someone who had lost a parent, couldn't be with them and had to wave through a fucking window. One about a nurse who was working shifts at the time. Different stories about what people were doing in other parts of the country on December the 18th when this party took place. Not asking the Prime Minister to admit that there was a party or anything like that. Just tell these stories that are relatable, that everyone knows someone who went through this shit or went through it themselves, and say, I want you to apologise to this person. Are you going to apologise for the party that you had? The party that you threw in your fucking house, you lying piece of shit. I doubt anyone loves them. People vote for them because they hate foreigners as much as they do, indeed. It is disturbing, though, how many foreigners hate foreigners. I mean, wouldn't it be interesting if Priti Patel's fucking laws about taking the passports off people who have ancestry from other countries, let's just put it that way. It wouldn't be really funny if Priti Patel ended up getting her passport taken off her and being deported to Uganda. Places she never lived. But, it's where her parents came from as economic migrants. So, maybe send her back. I hear ginger's quite nice this time of year. Soft heads in the Tory voters, freedom of movement. I'm from California. I love the travel series. Ever planning to travel again? I agree. Brexit was a bad idea. Yeah, Jamie's. I would like to travel again. I had hopes of doing a new TV series about travel. Yeah, I've got a friend who works in the UK media, and we've discussed making a show together in which he goes to all like the posh end places in any given city, and I go to all the backpacker schlummy places. He goes to all the high end restaurants, and he goes to the opera, and I go to like an underground rave. That's free to get into. Go watch some live music and find out what you can do in any given city if you've got no money, and he finds out what you can do in any given city if you've got shitloads of money, and we meet somewhere in the middle, and sometimes we'll swap. But yeah, that was put on ice by COVID, and yeah, it's difficult to travel at the moment, never mind do any travel shows. But yeah, I hope to be going out to Panama again next March. That's the hope, but there you go. Omicron Persei 8. Thank you, Pineapple Boy. Thank you. Right. Next, the current course of the Tories pretend to forget the rules are for them too. Says Joni, people need to keep pretending that so they can ignore the obvious. Indeed. Marza Jeddah says, I'm Scottish and I want Scotland to be independent so we can do things better. I also believe the breakup of the UK would be the catalyst for positive change in England too. I agree with you 100%, Marza Jeddah. That's why I am supporting Scottish independence 100%. Back in 2014, I did not. And now I really, really do. I think it's the best thing for Scotland. And I also, as you say, I think it will be the best thing for England. It will give us the slap that we need to maybe shake us out of this reverie that we're in, this obsession with the past and the war, the Second World War. Everything has to be gauged in terms of the Second World fucking War. Bayerberg, I was chuckling yesterday reading Twitter, all those heavyweights pontificating imminent demise of the devil incarnate. It's not going to do a thing. It's a bump in the road. We didn't win anything, indeed. Draconic says, sorry, sadly, Graham, I disagree. Whoever replaces Johnson will get a clean slate. Yeah, but they won't be as popular. Johnson can get away with stuff. They wouldn't get away with stuff. Look at Cameron. You know, he wasn't a likable character, was he, Cameron? He's not a likable character. He's a horrible, smug. I mean, you know, a robot. Data from an unlikable Data from Star Trek. He's just not good. Like people, and he made one big fuck up, one massive fuck up, the biggest fuck up of all time, possibly in terms of British history. And he had to resign. Think about all the shit that Theresa May got during the 2017 election, where she became incredibly unpopular in the 2017 speech to her party, where the letters fell off the fucking wall, and popularity of the Tory party under her leadership went down so far that they only got 7% of the vote in the European elections of 2019. I mean, that's pretty bad. So, because she was unlikable. I mean, who would go, oh, let's go out for a drink, shall we? Who should we invite? Theresa May. Yeah, she's always a good laugh. Oh, fuck off. She's got some great funny stories. She's got some hilarious anecdotes about running through fields of wheat. No. Nah, she's not getting invited. And it's the same with sort of Rishi Sunak and Michael Gove and all these gobshites. They won't get away with it. They won't get away with it in the way that Boris Johnson's got away with it, and that will be the big difference. People always say this when you go, oh, should we topple this horrific dictator? And they go, no, because someone else will come and they'll be even worse than that particular dictator. Well, I've got news for you. No one was worse than Stalin. No one was worse than Hitler. No one was worse than Mussolini. No one was worse than Saddam Hussein so far in, well, maybe ISIS, but they weren't the government. And no one was worse than Colonel Gaddafi so far in Libya, although hold that thought, because I think his son's standing for election. But in general, when there is some kind of evil strongman personality politics gobshite, there's no one really to replace them. If you took out Trump, there'd be no one to replace Trump at the same level in the Republican Party who would engender the same kind of devotion that they get. I mean, personality cults are a real thing, and some people get them and some people don't. I'm quite glad that Keir Starmer does not have a personality cult, because it would make the whole thing really embarrassing, because we couldn't criticise him without people going, oh my God, you can't criticise Keir Starmer. When the reality is that doesn't happen. If I criticise Keir Starmer on Twitter, no one gives a fuck. Everyone goes, yeah, right, fair enough. But if I criticise his predecessor, oh my God, the shit I get. The shit I get. I get more shit for criticising him than I do for criticising Boris Johnson, which I find fascinating. Anyway, Boris Johnson is nothing... sorry, the screen just jumped up because some more comments came in. Sorry, Duke. Boris Johnson is nothing like me. For a start, at least I have a moral compass, indeed. Kevin says, what about all the battered women who are trapped inside with their abusers? That laughing video must be a thing for to watch for them. Possibly like being attacked twice, from Kevin Hegarty. You're absolutely right, Kevin. Couldn't agree more. Steve Bray is blasting, you got to fight for your right to party outside Downing Street right now. Excellent. James says, Tamaza, you're right. So perhaps Scotland can help lead England back to some sort of sanity. But actually, I'm afraid my older brainwashed generation will have to die off first. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a process waiting for the older generation, the bigots of the older generation to pop their clogs, which is sad, And it reminds me of a conversation I had in Johannesburg in South Africa. And it was with a guy whose name was Martin, and he was from Zimbabwe. And I was chatting with him and in this pub, and he said to me that he was waiting for Mugabe to die so he could go home. All his friends and family were in Harare in Zimbabwe, and this poor bloke, he was alone in South Africa, having been driven out the country. This is a black Zimbabwean. I mean, this wasn't a white farmer or anything like that. This is a person that you would think that Mugabe would like to protect. But Mugabe was a monster. It wasn't just the white farmers that he attacked brutally. He also attacked the homeless people in Harare. He had an operation called Drive Out the Trash, in which if you were homeless in Harare, you could be expected to be beaten to death by his gangs. And this idea of this massive diaspora out of Zimbabwe, which was I met people in Namibia, I met people in Botswana, I met people in South Africa, I met people in Mozambique, and in Malawi and in Zambia who were from Zimbabwe, and they were working in those countries and sending money back home to Zimbabwe, because obviously the currency at the economy at that time had collapsed. And that idea of having to wait for someone to die. And then less than a year later, I was in Libya, and my tour guide in Libya, who I had to have because apparently, according to Gaddafi at the time, this was 2010, so Gaddafi was still with us. People would come and steal antiquities, so he wanted everyone coming from Europe to be chaperoned. Also at the time, he had banned everyone from the Schengen visa area from coming to Libya, which upset the Italians a lot because it was an ex-Italian colony, and Italians still had a lot of business and contacts there in Libya. And despite all the sanctions and shit. And I remember him saying, as we were driving along, along the coast in Libya, saying the same thing, just waiting for Gaddafi to die. Might be another 20 years. I mean, he didn't know at the time it would be less than 2, but yeah, that to me really just sticks with me like a lot. It just, those people who sat there looking at the situation in their country and thought nothing's going to change for 20 years until this fucker dies. But Mugabe's dead. He was ousted before he died, and also Gaddafi's dead. The amount of people who have to die in order for this disgusting vermin scum that run this country to be out of power, it's a bit too many. It's a bit too many. You can't just be like, oh yeah, well, they're gone. They've been toppled in a coup, so now we're okay. And that's a big worry. That is a big worry. And so this is why when something happens like this party last year, we need to go on about it. We can't just let it become, the yesterday's news, today's fish and chip wrappers. We can't let that happen with this. We keep needing to nail them. And if you know any Tory voters, call them up today. Ask them how they feel about this. Tell them your story about how you couldn't spend those days or weeks or even months with the people that you love, whereas they were having fucking parties. Ask them how they feel about it. Go and meet up with them. Have them tell you to your face that they think it's funny or they think it's acceptable, because it's not. And then if they do say it's funny or acceptable, just ask them, what happened to them? What happened to them to make them so callous? What happened to them to make them so fucking evil that they think that this kind of thing is acceptable? Anyway, next up we have Kevin Hegarty again saying the worst part of the video, the PR woman was preparing her lies to spew live on air. Obviously she couldn't believe the bullshit that she was expected to say, and she crumbled indeed. I don't hate foreigners, I only hate Priti Patel, says David. Yes. Well, David, you are a foreigner. So that would be, well, for me you are. But yes, there's certain individuals that I fucking hate. As a group of people, I try not to hate an entire group of people, although Brexiteers, can't help it, mate, can't help it. 18th of December last year, I was isolated and depressed and desperate, and hadn't got work and no hope. I was in bad mental health place. It's almost likely it's going to be the same this year. I'm really sorry to hear that, Draconic. That's fucking awful. If you want to chat, give us a shout on Facebook. I'll give you a call. Restream says, this is from Moaz, sorry. Priti Patel would come after Muslims as she's an Islamophobic bitch. Yeah. I couldn't see why. I don't see why she wouldn't. She's an extension of the BJP. That's Modi's party in India. She's an extension of them. Odd opinion here from Roger King, apparently. But do we really want an unstable coalition replacing the Tories? In opposition, the Tories will consolidate. They use their vast resources to smash Labour at the following election. I do want a coalition to replace the Tories, and I want that coalition to bring in PR, and that would fuck the Tories, because the Tories only get 40% of the vote. They only get 40%. In their best fucking showings ever in Parliament, they only get like 45% of the vote. They wouldn't get into power under a PR system unless they move towards the centre ground. At the moment, they can just attract wingnuts and get away with it. And also, if we had a PR system, you'd have gobshites like Farage getting seats in Parliament. Great, because that takes seats on Tories. Also splits the Tory vote. Point of order, Ian Blackford, the SNP leader at Westminster, says now there's been reports of 3 parties at Downing Street last winter. Yeah, FSM, I've read that as well. 3 parties. 3 fucking parties. Jesus Christ. Martha Jeddah says, it's a good point about women being abused. The same is true about spouses, looking after spouses with dementia or terrible illnesses. Isolation and suffering for many. Indeed, the isolation over last Christmas was disgraceful. And also the fact that, Johnson was like, oh, it'll all be over by Christmas. It'll all be over by Christmas. And then it wasn't. It wasn't. Big thanks to David Faulkner saying, I bet you missed Ginger Island. Thanks very much for my 38 Hong Kong dollars there. Yeah. What do you want me to say? I do miss it. It was hard. It was hard. Fucking hell. Felt like I was achieving something, and I think that's why I have such a different opinion about like Brexit and doing something like Ginger Island or my travels compared with Brexit, because I'd spent all that time and effort fighting Brexit, and it didn't make a shit of difference. It didn't change anything. Whereas I made a door, and I hung it, and it opened and closed. And I was like, wow, I made a fucking door. I could look at it and go, that's cool. I can actually see what I've done for traveling around the world. I can look at my Guinness World Records certificates and go, I did that. I've got something to show for it. My TV show, my TED Talks. So politics, hate it. I hate it. I wish I wasn't talking about it. I wish I could just move on. Get on with my life, I want to do other stuff. I want to do travel stuff. I know that a lot of people watching this probably enjoy the travel stuff a lot more than they do watching me shout obscenities at the idiot in charge of this country. But I can't help myself. I just hate these people in charge so much. I need them out of power. I need them out of Parliament. I need them out of society. I want them behind fucking bars for what they have done to this country. The humiliation they have put the British people through. The slaughter of 150,000 people. Meanwhile, in Japan, twice the population, much more urban density. And they've had less than 20,000 deaths. Less than 20,000. That's over 100,000 dead people in this country. It didn't need to happen. Over 100,000. Tim Bannon says the police have got a get out under the policing bill. It's me mate Graham. Hello Graham, you're live on the internet. Hello, how you doing? I'm doing my daily politics show, although it's kind of gone weekly now because of Christmas and shit. But you've just called me in the middle of it. So do you want? Yeah, you're on now. Do you want to say something to the mic?
I have anything meaningful to say to the world, I'm afraid.
Are you having a party on the 18th? Can I come?
Well, that's what I was going to call you about, yeah. However, I will let you go. I'll speak to you in a bit. Just drop us a text later, yeah?
Yeah, will do. Will do, mate. Take care. All right.
Yeah, bye.
See you later, Graham. Bye-bye. All my friends are called Graham, obviously. So random. Okay, so yes, this is live, obviously. Graham's going to watch this back now, and he's like, "You bastard! You should put me on the spot." But yeah. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up in a minute. So I'm going to try and read as many questions, as many comments as I can before I head off. You know that point about that Kevin Hegarty made about women being abused. It's one of the big reasons why I really, really want there to be universal basic income. It's a huge argument for it to say, look, there's so many people trapped in abusive relationships that feel they can't leave because they're scared of ending up on the streets. There's so many people living with their parents, and their parents are fucking horrible to them, but they can't move out of their parents, and they're in their 20s and their 30s, some are in their 40s. There's no universal basic income. You know, you're not guaranteed money to allow for a roof over your head and food in your belly and warmth, which is disgusting in this day and age. It's 2021. We should be just providing this stuff as the basic. That's it. Wherever you go from there, you can run with it. If you would like to check out my latest website, it is called Eating Disorder. I'm going to just put the link in here, eatingdisorder.uk. And there you'll find a list of a shitload of privately educated people who went to public school in the public eye. And there are a lot of actors. There's not so many sports people. I've got to add some more sports people. Big thank you to Ian, who filled out about 200 of them. There's only 300 on the list, so that's pretty good. But there's some surprises in there. There's some surprises. And when I was doing my research, it was interesting that nearly every single musician who's fucked me off in the last 10 years, Mumford & Sons, all of them went to private school. Ed Sheeran, private school. Will Young, private school. James Blunt, oh God, we're going back 20 years now. James Blunt, private school. I mean, like, all of them went to posh private schools. And interestingly, people who don't piss me off as much, like Adele, honestly, Adele doesn't piss me off. I'm not a big fan of Adele. I don't particularly like her music. Don't listen to it, but she played Glastonbury a few years ago and she was fun. You know, she was entertaining. She was a good entertainer. And she went to, what's it called? The Brit School. She went to like this London Fame School. It's a bit like Lippet in Liverpool. And it's free. You know, you need a bit of talent to get in, and you need probably some money to pay for equipment and stuff. But it's not a fee-paying school. It's kind of independent, but not independent in that respect. And Ed Sheeran had a go. I think he had a go at Adele, saying, all the Brit School people all sound the same. Oh, snooty little fucker. Snooty little fucker, Ed Sheeran. Anyway, yeah, so moving on. But yes, if you want to check that list out, anyone you want to add to that, get over to the Rejoin EU Discord server. I will bring up a link because I'm nice like that. Get over to the Discord server, and we can just add them to the general chat. I'd like to know what school they went to. Helps me out a lot, and also what they do as a profession, as you can see on the site there. Okay, right. Don't start going on about UBI, Graham. You don't have enough time. Okay, we're 1:05 now, so I'm going in a minute. Okay, including one at the PM's flat. He asked what can be done to make sure the PM takes responsibility. So Lindsay Hoyle, the speaker, says Blackford has made his point. Oh my God. Indeed. Okay, Graham, it's true. UK has a shortage of needles to vaccinate. Is that true? I don't know. I haven't heard that, mate. That's from David. Kevin says, response to Marza Jeddah. Yeah, I got locked down at my mum's house. When lockdown first started here in Ireland, she had dementia, became a FaceTime dad, but thank God for her carers. Yeah, Jesus. Marza Jeddah says, how can your generation be convinced to move to yes? A serious generation, serious concern. If IndieRef is 2023, there's a lot to do. Asperger's Europe says Serbia will open 4 new chapters in their EU accession process next Tuesday. They will eventually join the other Eastern European states whose citizens have more freedoms than their UK counterparts. Yeah, Eastern European former communist states have more freedoms than us. But we voted for them to be taken away and we celebrated it. We went, yay, they've removed our freedom of movement, hurrah! That'll show them. And they've made it so that if you have a good, high-paying job in this country up for grabs, then anyone from anywhere in the world can go for that job. But if you have a shitty, menial job that's paying minimum wage, the only people who can go for that job are people who were born here. Yay. There was genocide by Robert Mugabe on a minority called the Matabele. I don't disagree with that. The Mugabe was a monster. Mugabe was an absolute fucking monster. I don't really want to wait for Johnson to die. No, Wally Waldo, neither do I. Gaddafi groomed the son, though. Libya's worse now after Gaddafi, as the West supported the Muslim extremists, said David. Diaspora Zimbabwean here. Sadly, nothing much has changed since Nagangwa took over. I hope the same doesn't happen here, indeed. But it's not... The thing is that I don't feel like, although he might be as bad in terms of the policies, I'm talking about specifically personality cults. And Mugabe had a personality cult. He fucking did. So did Gaddafi, bizarrely. I mean, they made it all themselves. Yeah, I mean... Kevin says, if you hear that the Irish booster uptake is being slow, it's because people are getting up to 3 booster offers from local doctors, pharmacies, and the HSE, our health service. Indeed. John Barleycorn, when Boris the Liar gets kicked out by his MPs, I'm wondering if there's anything we can do to sabotage the leader election so the most unlikable candidates get on the final ballot. I don't think there's any way of doing it, because I think that they whittle it down to 2, don't they? And that's an in-house thing with the MPs whittling it down to 2, and then they give it to the membership to vote between those 2, and it'll be gobshite or gobshite. It'll probably be Gove or Sunak, I think, and Sunak will probably take it because they'll see him as being more acceptable to the electorate, even though he married a billionaire. Priti Patel's parents were refugees from Uganda, and she was born in a council house to Ugandan refugees, thanks to Britain's goodwill to refugees. Yeah, David. Yeah. This is why she's so fucking disgraceful, that she is being so horrific to people from countries fleeing war. Actually, they weren't refugees, because they actually left in 68, I think, and I don't think Idi Amin got in until 71 or 72. So they were just straight up economic migrants. Tim says the police have got a good get out under the policing bill. If they see a crime on TV, internet, and you aren't complaining, so they won't investigate. Have this in writing from the Met. Jesus Christ. Who's Lee Anderson? I saw a video insulting Steve Bray, told him to brush his teeth. Who is Lee Anderson? I don't know. Kevin Egerty, wait till the Tories can have judgments against them set aside by the very judges that found them guilty. Then they'll be making protesting illegal once and for all. It was their plan 2 years ago. Kevin, you're absolutely right. Can't disagree with that. That's what they want to fucking do. The Graham clan. Yes. I've actually got a friend called Graham Hughes. He spells it differently. But it's the Greamy spelling rather than Graham. But me and him and my dad, who's also called Graham Hughes, we once formed a quiz team together at 3348 on Park Street for the music quiz that they had there once a month. And we were the Graham Hughes. Literally 3 people on a team, all with the same name. Kevin says, wait until the Tories... I've read that one. UBI, well said, Graham. Thank you very much. We need it. If anyone says UBI is a lefty policy, point out that Nixon supported it. Yes, Nixon, of all people. That's one of my favourite questions. Like, which president of the United States first mooted publicly the idea of universal basic income? And everyone's like, oh, it must have been Carter. It must have been, I don't know, some lefty radical. Oh. It's like, no, it was Nixon. Everyone's favourite crook. I am not a crook. You know when he said, I'm not a crook? I mean, great line from Game of Thrones when it was good about the king. He said, in my experience, Charles Dance says, in my experience, a good king doesn't have to keep going on about the fact that he is the king. Indeed. He doesn't have to keep saying that. A good leader of the government, I was going to say the country, actually. A good leader wouldn't have to do that. So wouldn't have to keep lying all the time. But he's not a good leader. Mr. Vant, keep it up, Graham. Thank you very much for my €5 super chat. Worth continuing on the show there, Yorvosh, for another 11 minutes past what I was going to. But I am just trying to find my invite here. I'm clicking on things. Goval, Sunak, OMG. Yeah, I think that's the way it'll go. in my crystal bollock. It's a bit like a crystal ball, but worse. So this link will allow you to join us on the Discord server for the next 12 hours if you fancy popping over there. I might pop in this afternoon to say hello. So if you fancy joining the voice chat, so if you go down on the left-hand side, there's a menu. One of the things there is under the heading video channels, and you've got voice text, and underneath it says general. If you click on general, then you will be able to chat with people on the old Rejoin EU Discord server. It's a bit like an old school bulletin board, except it's got like Zoom-like capabilities. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap up the last of the few comments that we've got here. James Blunt is actually sound, believe it or not. He has good comebacks. He has good comebacks on Twitter, what he used to anyway. Some sick burns. Some big sick burns, bro. Can the speaker be removed? He's useless. Well, if the speaker gets removed, Marja Jenner, he's actually Labour. He's a Labour MP. If he gets removed, then tradition is that it will go over to a Conservative MP, who will arguably probably be worse. So I think the Madam Deputy Speaker at the moment will become the main speaker, because the convention is that it goes from Labour to the Tories to Labour to the Tories. I would like Bercow to come back. I'd like that. That would be great if he could get onto the Labour benches. I think that he would be a very, very powerful voice against the Conservatives. You know, I'll just wrap it up talking about Prime Minister's questions. Starmer, he's just too nice. He just sounds like he's like the slightly peeved head teacher, like a middle school, grammar school. One more time, you've smashed the windows with the football. How many times do I have to tell you not to do this? I want you to apologise to the caretaker and then pay for the window to be fixed by picking litter up from around the school. Okay, sir. Okay. Anyway, you seem to be promoting private schools, says David Zimmer. Yeah, well, maybe I am. Maybe everyone should go to private schools. Well, I'm kind of not trying to promote them. I'm trying to point out the fact that literally everybody who is on TV, not literally everyone, 99% of the people that you watch on TV had a posh, privileged education, and that's how they got the deal. That's how they got the record deal. That's how they got their publishing deal. That's how they got their presenting deal. That's how they got their acting deal. That's how they got an agent in the first place to allow them to get these deals, because they were rich to start with. Anyway, bonjour, says number 3. Hello, number 3. How you doing? I need to reply to you. You've sent me some messages on Twitter, which I haven't looked at yet, but I will. Marta Jeddah, the point about illegalising protesting, just wait till they try and demonstrate for Scottish independence. Police crack down. The Tories know what they're doing. Yeah, indeed. Kevin says the only way to jail these people is to follow the money. That's how they got Al Capone. Tax evasion is sexy, but it isn't sexy, but it's effective. It's very true. Yorash, will all the Tory scandals ever reach a critical mass and just explode like a nuke? They should be close. One hopes. They avoid tax, not evade it. There's a difference. Plum says this country is a horrendous mess. You are absolutely right, Plum, 100%. Imagine Bercow back in the chair. That'd be great. Johnson would hate that. Petition anyone. Agree that Starmer is all wrong. Yeah, he's just... there was a joke, wasn't there? Was it about Attlee that Churchill made about an empty taxi pulled up outside Parliament and Clement Attlee got out? Yeah, we need someone with a bit of oomph. But that's just not the way it works by the looks of things. Plum Duff, £5 super chat. Well, thank you very much. I'll just keep talking if people keep throwing money at me. Hey, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. I think Starmer is still working the rules of a court. Yeah, John, Starmer reminds me of the main character. Well, the main character from the central character from The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, in which he's still fighting the old wars. He's a guy who fought in the Boer Wars. He fought in World War One. Now it's World War Two, and he's still fighting wars by the rules of cricket. And the younger officers, break into the Turkish bathhouse where he's having a bath, and say, right, we've won this war game that they were supposed to be starting at midnight, and he's like, but it's only 7 o'clock. What are you doing? Oh. And they're like, the Nazis are not playing by the rules of cricket, and if we lose this, there's going to be no rematch next year. You know, it's over. It's over. Oh, you're being hysterical. No, really. They're going to wipe everybody out. That's what they want to do. And this is seemingly what the Tories want to do. But God, it's embarrassing that like so many people who have suffered, so many people who have died, and their relatives who still vote Tory, still think that Boris is doing a good job. Virus Johnson is still doing a good job. Jesus Christ. Gavin said, I'm so surprised people aren't hitting the streets already. COVID never stopped them before, so I don't think that's the issue. Maybe they're just giving up. Yeah. People just kind of just have given up by the looks of things, to be honest with you. I kind of agree with you there. Gotta go, Graham, but thank you. Your podcasts are great. I'm gonna go as well, Marza. So bye-bye. The modern left are not just not as ambitious as the hard right. PR could be their thing, but they won't. Yeah, Roger. PR, voting reform, and UBI. UBI could be that could be their Trojan horse to get in everywhere, because it would be freedom. They could sell it as freedom. Don't you want to be free? That could be the fucking sign on the side of a bus. Don't you want to be free? Question mark. UBI. Wow. Yeah. We could afford it. Merry Christmas, everyone. No Merry Christmas to Priti Patel and the Brexiteers. They can go fuck themselves. Says David. No, he didn't say they could go fuck themselves. I said that, but you know, I'm sure he's with me on that one. Okay, so I'm going to leave you a list of my wonderful patrons. If you would like to become a patron for this channel, please head over to patreon.com/thatgingerscouser, and you will also get exclusive access to a certain higher tier of Discord server in the new year once I get everything organized on that. But yeah, we run stuff on the Discord server. We run Saturday night quizzes, games night, and also Sundays now. We've got movies on. So please, feel free to come take part. And if you'd like to throw some money in the pot to help me out with this channel and my, political activities, please feel free. It's really good if you could just, give us the price of a cup of coffee once a month. It means I've got a little bit of a base to spend money on. I'm actually going to Liverpool this weekend. It's my dad's birthday, and the price of the train is just absolutely horrific. I mean, it's quite something that it would actually be cheaper for me to drive in a car on my own. Not sharing the car with anyone else, just on my own. It would be cheaper to drive in fuel. There you have it. Okay, so I'll be back. I might do a show tomorrow. I'm not going to promise anything. If I pop up, then hello. But I've got a lot of things to get put in place before I feel like I'm confident enough to start a new sort of program, a new season of Hughes of the World episodes. I'm thinking of waiting until January, until I know what's happening work-wise, because I don't want to sort of restart it, do it for a couple of weeks before Christmas, and then get a job that means I have to work on Thursday nights or something like that. So I think I'm probably going to leave it, but I might, depending on what happens in the next 24 hours in politics, I might decide to do a little bit of a show tomorrow evening. I might even appear on the Bin podcast with Wayne from Basildon and his friends. So we'll see. But other than that, I will definitely be back on Monday for another round of Hughes at 10. So hopefully I will see you there. Until then, Merry Christmas, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Oh, and thanks for watching, and thanks for the super chats, and thanks for being awesome.